Another Muay Thai reaction. We're bringing this back to 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 back. I don't know what I'm doing. Do y'all fuck with it? I mean, excuse my language. Do y'all consent to the manner of my hairdo, if I may ask? Anyways, today we're gonna be reacting to something that was referred to me. That was yeah, that was requested of me to react to by my boy. You know what I'm saying? Y'all by now you should already know who sent me this. Like you should already know who referred me to watch this video. Like if you don't know, that means you don't really watch the content. You know what I'm saying? Shout out my boy New A and Warler. So he, he's my Muay Thai blood. So when I need to react to some Muay Thai videos, I I always get back to my boy. You know what I'm saying? My boy always get back to me. I mean, I don't want to say my boy, but like, you know what I'm saying? He shows support and he or she they show support, and I really appreciate it that they send me videos to react to. He sent me this guy called Yod. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Yodkhunpon, the elbow hunter of 100 stitches. Now, for a name, the elbow hunter of 100 stitches, that is like, yo, like if I'm on the streets and like I was about to get into beef with this guy and someone came to me like, yo, you know who that is, bro? Yo, that's the elbow hunter of the 100 stitches, bro. I don't think you should be fighting him. I'll be like, hey man, hey, you got it, bro. Like I'm not, bro. I'm out of there. I'm out of there. I'm not fighting him. I know I'm already done. You feel me? That is a crazy name. So from the name, we already assume that it means he's good at elbows. I don't know what the 100 stitches mean. Like the people who eat elbows, they have to get 100 stitches. I don't know, but let's get into the video. I'm gonna
No
take
one
over.
inspired
Oh,
fear in
this
his
is
competitors and
it's loud.
elation in the crowd like Yodkhunpon, the elbow
Yodkhunpon.
hunter of 100 stitches.
I don't know if like I never know if the volume is all right
Yodkhunpon was
until
one of the
after.
best fighters of the golden age of Muay Thai, having held championships in Thailand's two most prestigious stadiums simultaneously. Few
Lumpini.
fighters
I
have
don't know the second
possessed
one.
such a simultaneously brutal and elegant style. Yodkhunpon was the living incarnation of relentless pressure, blending advanced, creative
Vietnamese.
tactics with untamed ferocity. Today, we're lucky enough to get direct access to his
Mm.
knowledge as he continues to teach a new
Oh yeah.
generation of warriors in Thailand.
You know what I've
So,
noticed?
without
You know what I've noticed? Like most of these Muay Thai legends, like nowadays, they just share their knowledge with people. I don't think you ever like of course like in boxing you see like some people they show some showcase some moves, but like these Muay Thai folks they actually get in the gym, get in like in the ring and like actually show, you know what I'm saying, explain everything and they have like friendly spars and things like that. I actually like that.
without further ado, let's take an in-depth look
Those
at
knees are
exactly
crazy.
how the elbow hunter caught his prey. Yodkhunpon preferred to use his lead teep to close distance, and this made a lot of sense for the intricacies of his style. Since Yodkhunpon preferred to establish contact with
So
his
he's a
lead hand
southpaw?
as quickly as possible in order to work his dark clinch magic, the lead teep and lead teep feints allowed him to easily step into his frames and holds. Or he could even step into punches to further shorten the distance. Of course, as great as teeps are at herding opponents towards the ropes, they're
I'm
equally good
scared
at
about the
keeping
volume,
distance
guys.
to stay off the ropes. But every master knows how to defend against their own attacks, which are likely to be thrown back at them for the simple reason that the
True.
opponent is at the
He
same range. So when
he moved to the
Yodkhunpon wasn't simply walking through teeps like a boss, he would parry or catch to the inside or outside. When he did this, he would often throw the kick away to slow down his opponents, making them take an extra moment to rebalance themselves. Or he would chain into a punch if he was already in range. But Yodkhunpon's favorite tool for closing off the ring and closing distance in general was the rear leg roundhouse
that
kick.
was crazy kick.
While Yodkhunpon had great success throwing his full body power roundhouse to the legs, body, or head, he didn't actually need to land it.
Flexibility.
The important part was to move the opponent back, either by enticing them to back up on their own, or by kicking them so hard they lost balance.
That's bro. You know
In
how hard it
turn,
is to
he
kick
had a
someone for them to
nasty
lose
defense
balance?
against opponents who tried to roundhouse kick back. Here he demonstrates on his student,
Oh.
the great prolific fighter, Sylvie von Douglas Idtu, wrapping his arm around the kick and
Yeah, who's
turning
this
it at
girl?
the
I keep
ankle
seeing
to
her. Like
force
she's
her
always
off
the one.
balance.
She's always
Yodkhunpon could use this tactic to drive opponents to the ropes.
she's always the one like training with the legends.
But
Wait, what do
why
you
do
say?
that when you can chain the technique into a spinning elbow?
What do you say?
Yodkhunpon could use this tactic to drive opponents to the prolific fighter, Sylvie von Douglas Idtu, wrapping his arm around the kick and turning it at the ankle to force her off balance. Yodkhunpon could
Oh.
use this tactic to drive opponents to the ropes.
Oh. That's a sick
But
move.
why do that
He
when you
probably could
can
have thrown
chain
a
the
punch after.
technique into a spinning elbow?
Yeah. He could have probably like done it.
Yet
That's
another common
actually
tactic was to step closer with the movement of the opponent's kick, landing an elbow at the same time. This could also be executed off of a blocked or caught kick.
I also don't understand. Yo, like I'm everything just hitting me. I'm like with all these legends. They have 300 plus fights. Like actually deep this 300 plus fights. And you already know Muay Thai is a brutal sport. But you rarely ever see knockouts. So maybe I don't know. But they're throwing elbows, knees, all that. Maybe because not all the trauma goes to the head. But my point, the whole point I was trying to make is they've had 300 fights, and they get old. Like I'm looking at that dude. Like most of the legends I've watched, like in their older stages, they have all their motor skills. They could walk. They could talk properly. No signs of CTE, as to my understanding. To my understanding, maybe there is, but isn't that kind of crazy? But I'm also thinking maybe it's because there's not that much. What's it called? That much trauma to the head because it's like knees, but they're still elbows and they still throw punches. Is boxing just a brutal sport? Because Muay Thai looks more brutal, but all their legends, like if you look at boxing legends, most of them do not end up well. But Muay Thai legends, even with having way more fights, do you understand what I'm trying to say? That is crazy. Hmm.
But Yodkhunpon's feints were just as important as the actual strikes he threw. Here he explains that it's important to get inside an opponent's rhythm while constantly breaking your own, so they can't get into yours. So, Yodkhunpon consistently feinted off rhythm as he closed distance.
Feints are really important. I'm telling y'all,
One way that
feints are
he
really
did
important.
this was by chambering his legs as
That's
he
why
moved in,
Tyson Fury is so
marching
good.
forward in this
He has an
way
awkward
both threatened
style,
kicks and
pairing it with his
preemptively check
natural
any kicks
abilities,
his opponents
being
may
super
throw.
tall, having
A more
longer
advanced
arms.
variation is to switch
He has
shift
like
into
a
another
always
stance.
throwing
Here
feints, awkward
Yodkhunpon
style.
threatens a rear leg roundhouse kick, then switch shifts, threatening the same kick with the other leg. But
Hmm.
instead, he shifts forward one more time. He brilliantly
Crazy
managed to
feints.
initiate the clinch and move the opponent to the ropes
Ooh,
off of footwork feints alone.
that's crazy.
One of the things that made Yodkhunpon so dangerous is that while he could perform his signature moves at close range, he could hurt you at any range. Unlike so many fighters
Crazy
who rely on
elbows.
doing well in one range and simply
That was
lose if
kind of
they
like a
can't maintain
punch
that
elbow.
range, Yodkhunpon had
He
the
missed
right
the jab, but
weapons
he put
for
his
any
elbow into it.
position at any distance. And this was clear in the way he chained his strikes, going
Do
from
Muay Thai
long
use like
range to
southpaw
mid
or,
range
or
to close
orthodox, or
range,
they
and
just
always using the right tool for the
they
right
probably do.
job. Rather than go straight from long range to close range to try and land his signature
Damn.
elbows and knees, Yodkhunpon often scored points with punches first. This way, he used mid-range attacks to help him transition to close range. When opponents used their long guards and knee bars to try and stop Yodkhunpon from clinching, he would simply use the multiple openings
He's
his
literally
tactics
walking all of
created
them
to punch
down.
through and around them.
He's walking all of them down.
This in
Damn.
turn set up opportunities to clinch.
So could you throw
Uppercuts worked especially well,
like an
and as a
uppercut elbow?
bonus, they forced an opponent to lean back and untuck their
Probably.
chins, raising their base and creating openings for holds, frames, and of course, elbows.
Where are the elbows? I'm not really. Ooh, okay, never
If
mind.
an
I spoke
opponent
too
tried to
soon.
punch themselves, Yodkhunpon liked to
I
target
spoke
their
too
body
soon.
with kicks, cross leverage blocking to deflect the attack and establish a hold. Although, Yodkhunpon most often
Damn.
used this tactic against straight arm leverage blocks rather than punches. Another common tactic at mid-range was to hand fight. Yodkhunpon loved to walk his opponent back at an
He's
angle,
literally walking all of them
constantly
down.
turning them, bothering their guard, and creating openings for close-range attacks.
Damn. He's pulling the hands
If
down
an
and throwing
opponent
that
tried to
elbow.
press forward, Yodkhunpon would push their guard away and step slightly off angle, setting up a roundhouse kick or knee. Adhering to the principle of attacking at
How did
every
their
range
cores
and giving the
withstand the
opponent
knees,
no
bro?
rest, Yodkhunpon would often throw kicks as a parting gift as the opponent exited exchanges.
Parting gift. LMAO.
But after a few rounds or less of constant pressure, opponents were no longer able to maintain distance consistently. It's time to look at how Yodkhunpon entered into clinching range, and why they called him the Elbow Hunter. Yodkhunpon loved to use traps, pulling down an opponent's guard to clear space for his elbows. Yodkhunpon can pull down the guard and then elbow with the same arm. The sheer speed of this attack makes
That's
it
crazy.
incredibly difficult to react in real time. But there was a lot more nuance to this than there might seem at first. Yodkhunpon was constantly probing his opponent's arms, using tactile sensations to determine how rigid or loose their guard was.
And it also determines range.
Yodkhunpon highly preferred to elbow when the guard was loose, as his opponent had less warning than would have been the case if he'd forcefully pulled the guard down. Much easier to simply step in hard with no resistance. If it was tight, he would use it to help move inside, pulling himself around as he pulled his opponent's arm out of the way. Since the
Switching
outside
the
hand
angle.
position leaves the center more open, some opponents tried to elbow up the middle, but Yodkhunpon would simply parry these, further off balancing them.
That's how you know
Although Yodkhunpon was
he
known
knows
for
his
his
art.
elbows, and we'll get more in depth on those later, what his opponents truly feared were his knees.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's what I noticed at first. Like the knees were crazy.
He liked to control one of his opponent's hands and their head at the same time. He would either cross frame, as he demonstrates here, great for turning an opponent into your attack, or he could use the always popular collar tie, great for pulling an opponent directly into your knee.
What's color tie?
Yodkhunpon's knees and elbows worked together beautifully, and a lot of that had to do with the unique way that he threw his knees. Yodkhunpon didn't care for the popular way of throwing knees that involved leaning back and pushing the hips forward. He felt that this would leave him open to elbows and relinquish a good deal of control by moving away
I'm not
from
going
the
to lie.
clinch. Instead,
The way he's doing the elbows, in my head, that's how I thought you're supposed to throw. I never heard of the leaning back knees.
he
Because
preferred to
like
twist into his knees,
that's the most
the
power you
same
could
as his
generate.
elbows. This
You
meant
could generate the
that
most
Yodkhunpon's
power
knees could
by
easily
turning
load
the
up his
hip,
elbows,
I
and
think.
his elbows could
Same
easily
like with
load
punches.
up his knees. But after a time, Yodkhunpon could trap opponents at close range indefinitely and land multiple attacks, drowning them in the clinch. This is where many of Yodkhunpon's
Muay Thai's
competitors would try
clinch
to
game
use
is
their clinch
like
not to set
incredible.
up shots, but instead to lock down and clamp up, halting the action in an attempt to get the ref to separate them. But just like Roberto Duran in boxing, Yodkhunpon had a number of ways to pry open his opponent's guard and find a way through the tiniest cracks in their armor.
Oh,
One really effective way that Yodkhunpon kept the clinch dynamic was to throw off an opponent's collar tie. He did this by pushing
collar
up from
tie?
under
Like
their
the
arm
neck?
and slipping out from underneath to a superior angle.
That's smart.
He didn't need to complete the movement for this to work. He could alter his opponent's posture just slightly to prep them for an attack. This same principle could be used to punch
He
away
just
at
need,
the
bro.
tie from
He
underneath.
need his thigh. I know that hurt than a bitch.
Alternatively,
Have you ever
Yodkhunpon
been
could
punched
go
in your
over
thigh
the
like
top,
with the knuckles?
using
That
a
shit
double
hurts.
crossface to control the opponent with a long clinch. This is
Bro,
a good tactic in general,
damn.
but with
Double
Yodkhunpon,
crossface.
it was a nuclear blast about to go off. It primed
could
both
feel
of
it.
his arms to throw huge elbows, chaining one into the other.
Elbow hunter. He's
But
deserving of
one
his name.
crossface was often enough. Once the least bit of space was created, Yodkhunpon could go to work sneaking in knees or transitioning to a more dominant
His knees
clinching
are-
position.
Like
Yodkhunpon
if
was
I'm being
just as
honest,
good at
I'm
throwing
noticing the
elbows from the
knees more than the
clinch as
elbows.
he was when
But maybe
entering,
that's
and a
why it's
big
so
part of
good
this
because
was
the
his
elbows are
attention
subtle.
to small details. Here he explains to keep the hand pointed forward so that it can more easily slide up the arm.
Mm. I feel like it's the way they call him
The
elbow hunter
setups to
because of
his
the way he
close range
sets up his
knees were
elbows.
equally nuanced. A
Those are
small
very
step out gave
smart
him just
setups.
enough space to throw, but kept him close enough to ensure his opponent didn't escape. In this same vein, Yodkhunpon defended knees by moving closer, smothering them by turning his hips into
Mm.
the attack.
Smart. Bro, look at those winding knees. That's like a looping right hook.
But opponents didn't
Like
always
he's
get away
doing the open
scot-free.
the gates, close the
Remember when I
gates
mentioned that
from
Yodkhunpon
soccer,
didn't like to lean
football.
back on his knees? Well, this is a big reason for that. Yodkhunpon would immediately use the extra space his opponents afforded him to intercept knees with tight, jarring elbows.
Damn, those elbows are
Yodkhunpon would
insane.
even draw knees to set up this attack by kneeing first himself. But
Oh,
even more than distance management,
oh. So because most of them do that leaning back thing, when they throw knees, they leave their heads open. He just counters with the like with an elbow. That's fire.
and strike selection, Yodkhunpon's real talent was balance manipulation. Through years of training, Yodkhunpon developed incredible timing. He could react in a split second to unbalance his competitors, using their own movements against them.
Mm.
And he could do this both offensively and defensively. Offensively, Yodkhunpon could immediately turn his strikes into ties or frames, then back into strikes.
Those elbows are
Frames
insane.
could
I'm
turn
not going
into
to lie.
elbows, which could turn into frames again, which could in turn pull opponents into knees.
He just changed everything so
Defensively,
perfect.
Yodkhunpon liked to
The
disrupt an opponent's
setups, the
balance
chaining of the
as they
punches or
attacked.
the attacks, the
Here he
knees, the
demonstrates
elbows.
stopping an opponent as they attempt a knee. Once again,
Like
the natural
to be to this level, if all the things he's saying is true, the way this dude is thinking, dog, you need years of experience, not just 5 years, 6 years, at least, bro, 10 plus years. Even 10 is pushing it. Like 10 plus years of experience to be able to fight with this much knowledge and IQ. Like people don't like someone doesn't teach you this. All this cannot be taught. I don't, in my opinion, all this cannot be taught. You actually have to experience it to be able to know how to manipulate somebody's body, like know how to set up the os. Like I don't
accurate
even know
lean
how to
back that
explain
comes
how I
from
feel.
pushing with the hips worked
Like,
against Yodkhunpon's
damn.
competitors. Although, more often than not, Yodkhunpon used this tactic in
Like
the clinch,
she's trying to
pushing
teach her, but
against their
she's not gonna
shoulders or
understand it.
head
Like she
to
needs
clear space
experience.
for a counter.
Like all this stuff he's doing, like right here, is experience based. In my opinion, I don't think you could teach it.
We've covered how Yodkhunpon could use grappling offensively and defensively to set up attacks, and how he could intercept both grappling
I'm not going
and
to
striking
lie.
attempts with counters.
I would say
We've
Muay
seen
Thai is
how he
real
could
fighting.
seamlessly flow from one of these
I don't know.
concepts to
It's
the
more
next,
like
creating a cascading symphony of
it's kind of like
violence.
boxing.
But
It
now,
looks
it's time to look at
barbaric,
how
but
he
it's
used
actually
all of them at the
artistic.
same time,
You know,
at times
beautiful,
displaying complete
beautiful
control
savagery.
of an opponent's movements.
Especially when
Yodkhunpon
he
did
gets
this by
when it
using
gets
multiple
explained.
points of contact at all times, using one or both arms
Sorry
to
for talking
lock,
over the video.
push, or pull at different purposes simultaneously, while using footwork to further adjust angles and move opponents off balance. Each component would work together at the same time in order to set up devastating strikes. This is getting a little complicated, so let's break down some of these
I
individual
didn't understand
tactics with
anything he said.
examples to make it a bit more clear. One way Yodkhunpon established control was to lock up one or both of his opponent's arms. This not only stopped them from attacking with that limb, it also acted as a point of control. Opponents many times attempted to frame to try and keep away from Yodkhunpon's elbows, so he would use these frames to turn, push, or pull competitors into strikes. But most of these
That
were far less
knee would be
extreme than the
devastating.
examples shown. Here Yodkhunpon uses an opponent's collar tie against him by clamping down with a
What's a
crossface
collar
and
tie,
using it to
man?
control his posture. At the same time, he gains further leverage by controlling the opponent's opposite hand.
Bro, he's literally smothering him, bro.
As
like
opponents pushed against
smothering
Yodkhunpon to
him.
try and break his control, they would often overcommit. And like how water leaking through a tiny hole in a dam can suddenly crash through all at once, Yodkhunpon would find the perfect weak point at the perfect moment to crash through from an angle they weren't expecting. But Yodkhunpon didn't always pit strength against strength. Another way that he would use an opponent's overcommitment against them was to suddenly disengage. Here Yodkhunpon's opponent is up on one leg, so he pushes against his guard to unbalance him. When the opponent pushes down against it, Yodkhunpon suddenly releases the pressure. The resistance gone, his opponent drops the guard, and Yodkhunpon uses the new opening to land a head kick. That was a dramatic and easy to understand example.
Well,
But most
he has
times,
flexibility.
Yodkhunpon uses this principle in far more nuanced and subtle ways. Here he locks an opponent's arm and cross-faces over the other. The opponent tries to break the crossface by pulling Yodkhunpon's head with the collar tie. So, Yodkhunpon lets him. He breaks his crossface and allows the opponent to pull him directly into his elbow. Then, when the opponent tries to create space by pushing against his guard,
I'm not going to lie.
Yodkhun
Of all the Muay Thai fighters I reacted to, I think he's the most technical from the breakdown. Because I didn't watch like I haven't watched a breakdown of all the fighters I reacted to Muay Thai wise, but I'm not going to lie. This is highly like this is not fighting. This is like how would I put it? This is a battle. A battle is not just about fighting. This is IQ. Like, bro, this is not. I can't even say chess. Chess is an understatement. Damn, he's on a different level.
Yodkhunpon suddenly
I'm
disengages
actually
once
more
again to let him
more
fall
impressed by
forward
him
into a knee. Another
than
great thing
even
about this tactic
when I
is that
reacted to some
Yodkhunpon's
marks.
competitors
Actually, I
often added
don't.
their own weight
That's
to his
probably
strike,
BS. I'm joking.
as they were
I don't know
many
what I'm
times
saying,
falling
but I am
directly
impressed though.
into it. Yodkhunpon would also use the moment when opponents disengage to his advantage, using the openings created as they changed positions to strike or disturb their balance. Going one step further, Yodkhunpon would often help his opponents along by pulling them into his strikes. Like a judo practitioner, Yodkhunpon can sense the tiniest adjustment in his opponent's balance and use their own force against them. Except rather than throw them to the floor, Yodkhunpon would turn them into his strikes. Yodkhunpon's opponents never knew if he would push, pull, strike, or reposition himself with footwork, especially because he was often doing all of those at the same time.
That's one reason I
In
want to do
this
Muay
way,
Thai.
he
There's too many
washed over
things to
them
think
like a
about in
tsunami,
the fight.
drowning them in endless
Like you
pressure.
literally had to put your brain on
But as
autopilot
complicated as Yodkhunpon's style
while
was,
you're still in
it
there,
really
while
came
you're still
down
putting
to
in work.
answering three crucial questions. What is my preferred range to set up my best attacks? How do I get there while scoring? And once I get there, how do I stay
What's
there?
the scoring system in Muay
Yodkhunpon
Thai?
answered these three questions perfectly.
Because I
And the
rarely see
result is one of the
knockouts.
most beautiful styles ever seen in the ring. Huge thanks to Sylvie for allowing me to use the Muay Thai library.
Which fighter did I
Library
react
has
to that
an
got a lot? I
insane
think
amount of
Samart
videos
got a
of
lot of
top-level
knockouts.
fighters all sharing their
Sanchai
knowledge,
too, I think.
and you can gain access through Sylvie's Patreon. I've been a patron for a long time now.
Buakaw
and I can
got a lot of
personally
knockouts.
say it's been an invaluable
Buakaw got a lot of
resource.
knockouts.
From the modern martial artist.
Actually,
this
I'm
has been
tripping.
David
I've seen a lot of
Wishing you
knockouts.
happy training.
I don't even know what to say, man. He is damn. I'm actually like impressed and surprised. That is crazy. I'm actually at a loss of for words. Like he's not. He's on a different level, bro. Whoever he was fighting, like he's how many? Like I look. You want to see his record because he's on a whole different level technique wise. Damn. Let me know what you're thinking in the comments, man. Big shout out to New Aaron Warlord for the recommendation. Please keep the recommendations coming because whoa, this one actually shocked me. But let me know what you think in the comments, man. Like, subscribe, anything you want to do. And sorry for the inconsistency. Like I've been going to university. At least I try to put like two videos, one video like a week at least. You know what I'm saying? Like every Saturday or Sundays, I try to upload videos. But hey, I'm gonna try to be consistent. The only reason I'm being consistent is because I feel like I have something here. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to just stop posting and then in the future I regret not stop posting because I'm like, oh, I didn't blow up on YouTube. because of this, because of that. Right now, I'm not even focusing on the number. I feel like at some point, like I wasn't even famous. Like I got like 50 subscribers. I was getting like videos with 1K views. It got to my head a little bit, but now I don't really care about the numbers anymore. I just like making content and putting videos up, and yeah, appreciate the love and support, man. I'm gonna see you on another video. Peace.